Hello, today and this week we're going to be talking about something called perspective. And this is my drawing from last week that I showed you that we talked about how to do the cube drawing. Today we're going to look at this picture in a little bit of a different way because this also has something called perspective in it. Very, very simply, perspective is the appearance of how things are seen in the world. So what that kind of means, very simply in drawing terms or in real life also, is when things are further away from you, they are smaller. They're visually smaller. Now, is that guy or a person who's off in the distance, they are the exact same size, or they're like real human life size. Just because you get further away from someone doesn't mean that they shrink. So he's the same size as this person in real life, but you can see in perspective, visually our eyes help make sense of the world by showing depth and saying he's further away because he's smaller. So he's closer to us because he's larger, and he's really, really close to us because he's the largest. So it's how your brain makes sense of the world. Our eyes do it naturally, but whenever we go to draw things, we as artists have to think about how to make that happen and how to represent that on paper. So one of the other things I wanted to mention that was in here is right here. Remember last week whenever we took the X and we drew that X across here, but I told you not to draw it inside the box because you didn't really need it there. What I want you to imagine is this right here. If we're going to take those and make it an X, this is actually a little dot in the center of the paper. In the center of the paper, you see that all of my lines lead back to this little dot right here. This is called a vanishing point. For our vanishing point, it is where things get so small in the distance that they actually seem to vanish, or that's the place where your eyes can no longer see. All right, so let's go ahead and let's take that same concept and let's try a little bit of work on here. So we're going to do the same thing, but this time the vanishing point is going to be a big part of our drawing. So let's go ahead and just make a dot. A dot somewhere in the center-ish of your paper is perfect. Next, what you're going to do is you're most definitely, in everything you do this week, you're going to need a ruler or a straight edge. Once again, if you don't have a ruler at home, that's okay. You can find the side of a book, or you can, one of my favorite things to do is just to take a piece of paper, fold it in half, and then you have a straight edge. If you don't have a ruler, you can also take, if you have something like, I saw it across the room, I had to go get it. If you have a popsicle stick, wash that popsicle stick off just a little bit, but this can be your straight edge. We're not really worried about a ruler, so you don't need to measure anything. That's good. It's all about just a straight edge. So let's go ahead with, this is my vanishing point. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take a line coming out from that direction and make another line coming out from this direction. Now what I want you to see here is, looks like a triangle on my paper. I'm going to make that triangle. There's not a whole lot going on right now. There's nothing really, really in perspective that's happening just quite yet. Let's try and make it a little bit of something more. So one of the things I can do here is, let's do this instead. Let's make this a road. One of the easiest things I'm going to do is I'm going to put a sidewalk in. A sidewalk, all of a sudden, I make this same right there. That's my sidewalk to begin with. Now with my sidewalk, I need sidewalk lines. And last week we talked about parallel. I kind of have some of the same things going on this week. So once again, let's do parallel here. These lines are going to be parallel to the bottom of the paper. And with this, when things are closest to us, they are the largest. As things get further away, they get smaller and smaller. So I made that one like just a tiny bit smaller. Try to stay inside the lines. There's one outside the lines. So these are parallel to the bottom of the paper. I think I might have made these a little too small, too fast. Tell you what, so I can save some time here, I'm going to pause my video and I'm going to come back. All right, so we're back. So notice my sidewalk lines. Now, another super easy thing I like to do is to make these look a little bit more three-dimensional. I like to put a curve on them. Let's curve either side. Notice how much more 3D that looks so quickly. All right, now these are like little boxes. They're the sidewalk cracks lines. If you take those, and these are going straight down. Don't turn them. I don't know what word that was going to be. Don't turn them. You want them to go straight down. So they're going to be parallel with the side of the paper. All right, so right now we have a street. It would be a whole lot more looking like a street road line thing. So if they're back here, they're so tiny. Look at how small those sidewalk lines are. So each little dash, each little dash is getting a little bit longer and a little bit further apart. Longer and further. So each one. Notice what that did for all of that. That was a huge difference. All right. Other than that, we can start putting some buildings in. We can start doing all kinds of other things here with my landscape. So after this, it's kind of up to you and some of your different options that you want to do. Let's go ahead and, I'm going to say this is like a desert. I don't know why there's a sidewalk in the desert, but let's go ahead and I'm going to put like a line here. That's going to be desert. I can put some mountains if I wanted to, some hills back there. And then let's go ahead, I'm going to draw some cactuses. So there's so many options, but what you really have to remember is when that cactus is further away, it's smaller, and then as it gets bigger, it's going to be so much larger. It's going to go right on top of that area here. So there's our cactus that's up front, further away. Let's do a little bit advanced here. Let's go ahead and draw some buildings. So this is a city on one side and buildings on the other. These buildings, when they're in the distance, are going to be super tiny and close together. So these buildings, as they get closer to you, they get bigger and bigger. Okay. So right now these buildings are all like connected. Let's do a little something fancy. I'm going to take this and draw a double line next to it. So I'm going to put a little gap in between each one of these buildings. Tiny little gap. Okay. Not quite selling it yet. One last finishing touch. I'm going to erase that line in between. Ooh, you know what? Right now it kind of looks like, imagine if you did it taller, they could be like telephone poles. All right, but I'm going to just take this corner of this building, straight back. All right, those are my buildings right now. So what we're doing in perspective is practicing near and far. So if you just practice that for a little bit, that'll be practice in perspective. And each day this week, I'm going to be showing you some new things to do in perspective. We're going to have a lot of fun this week. Bye.